That's a song that's not in our songbook that we usually sing. It's called Golden Harps Are Sounding. And it's one of many hymns written by a lady named Frances Ridley Havergal. And I thought we would focus tonight on songs that she wrote. Before we get into the songs that are in our songbook that she wrote, I'll tell you a little bit about her. Welcome to Grace Baptist Church this evening. My name is Sam Olson. Looking forward to joining you for about the next 30 minutes or so. Hope that everybody has had a good day so far. If it was suitable, hope you got to get outside for a little bit, but thankful to spend the next little bit together. So Frances Ridley Havergal, pull out my notes here, was born in December of 1836, and she lived until June of 1879, so just lived 42 and a half years. She was an English religious poet and hymn writer, and a couple of her hymns I know that you'll know quite well, and we'll talk more about those in a few minutes. She also wrote religious tracts and works for children, and really carved out a niche as a poet there in the 1800s. She was born into an Anglican family in the Church of England at Astley in Worcestershire. I think that's right. Her father's name was William Henry Havergal, and he was a clergyman, writer, composer, and hymn writer. Her older brother Henry was a priest in the Church of England and an organist, and her mother Jane actually died in 1848 when Frances was only 11 years old. Let's see here, a couple of other things. She spent some time studying in Germany. In 1852 and 53, when she was a teenager, she studied in Dusseldorf and a couple of other places in Germany. And I read that she actually probably knew up to 7 languages, including Greek and Hebrew, so was quite accomplished scholastically. In 1860, she left Worcester upon her father resigning his post, and resided at different places, spent time in Switzerland, in Scotland, and in North Wales. In 1873, she read J.T. Renford's little booklet called All for Jesus, which she said, quote, lifted her whole life into sunshine, of which all she had previously experienced was but as pale and passing April gleams compared with the fullness of summer glory, end quote. She generally led a pretty quiet life. It sounded like she had health trouble for a good deal of her life. Her hymns were frequently printed as leaflets and ornamental cards, and then gathered together from time to time and published in small collections. She died of peritonitis near Caswell Bay in Wales at age 42. And I looked that up this afternoon, and that's just under 50 miles just to the northwest of where the Kevin and Anna are in Wales, who we support their work there in Wales, so about 50 miles from there. You can see her memorial plaque, her tombstone online if you go and look for that, and her sisters actually saw much of her work published posthumously after she died. So there are 6 or 7 of her songs that are in our hymnal that we use every week, and so I thought we could sing each of those this evening, and some of those I'll make a couple of comments about as well. The first one is 238 in our songbook. "238. I've never sung this one before. I've sung the tune many times. I think you'll recognize the tune. But it's called Another Year is Dawning. And I was reading about this one from Kenneth Osbeck's book this afternoon on hymn histories. And just to tell you a little bit what he said in January of 1874, the many friends of Frances Ridley Havergal received a New Year's greeting with the heading, "A Happy New Year, ever such may it be." And following this greeting appeared the text of this song that we'll sing now. 238. Another year is dawning, dear Father, let it be, in working or in waiting, another year with thee. Another year of proving thy presence all the days. Another year of mercies, of faithfulness and grace. Another year of gladness in the shining of thy face. Another year of leaning upon thy loving breast. Another year of trusting, of quiet, happy rest. Another year of service, of witness for thy love. Another year of training for holier work above. Another year is dawning, dear Father, let it be, on earth or else in heaven, another year for thee. So I'd seen that one in our songbook before, but never had sung it. I'd be curious whether any of you have ever sung that one before. Maybe when New Year's rolls around again, we can sing that one together. The next one in our book is 405, if you want to turn there. 405. This was one probably that's fairly well known. Take my life and let it be consecrated. This story comes from a book called From Great Hymns and Their Stories. It says, the story of Miss Havergal's well-loved hymn, Take My Life and Let It Be. Miss Havergal said, perhaps you will be interested to know the origin of the consecration hymn, Take My Life. I went for a little visit of 5 days, and she names a particular house that she went to. She says there were 10 persons in the house, some unconverted and long prayed for, some converted but not rejoicing Christians. He gave me the prayer, Lord, give me all in the house. And he just did. Before I left the house, everyone had got a blessing. The last night of my visit, after I had retired, the governess asked me to go to the 2 daughters. They were crying. Then and there, both of them trusted and rejoiced. It was midnight. I was too happy to sleep and passed most of the night in praise and renewal of my own consecration. And these little couplets formed themselves and chimed in my heart one after another till they finished with ever only all for thee. And this song also was written in 1874, just like probably a little bit after the one that we just sang. Something that I thought was really interesting is I read that Miss Havergal, she always sang this hymn to a tune that her father wrote. And the tune went by the tune name Patmos. And I don't know that tune. It says her desire always was that any publication that included this hymn would have that tune associated with it. But most hymn book compilers have kind of ignored or disregarded that, or maybe didn't even know that in our modern times. And we usually either see it with this tune that we see here, Take my life and let it be. That's probably the one you know. Or it's also often associated with another tune that goes by the tune name Mozart, which is a little bit lesser known to us now. But I thought that I would try to play and sing it, at least one verse, in the tune Patmos, which was actually written by her father. And so I think that's why it was probably more special to her. So I'll sing one verse with that tune, and then we'll switch back to the one that I think that we all know pretty well. And there are at least 6 verses to this song. There are only 4 that are in our songbook here. I've never done this before, so we'll see how this goes. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to thee. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise. The other thing that I noticed in that particular selection is it actually even took the couplets and mixed them up a little bit. So that verse that I just sang has the first half of the first verse in our songbook, and then it has the second half of what would be, let me see here, the third verse in our songbook. So it looks like those couplets have been moved around a little bit a few times. Since you have the book in front of you, we'll switch to the other tune, 405. Take my life and let it be consecrated, Lord, to Thee. Take my hands and let them move at the impulse of Thy love, at the impulse of Thy love. Take my feet and let them be swift and beautiful for Thee. Take my voice and let me sing, always only for my King, always only for my King. Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my moments and my days, let them flow in ceaseless praise, let them flow in ceaseless praise. Take my will and make it Thine, it shall be no longer mine. Take my heart, it is Thine own, it shall be Thy royal throne, it shall be Thy royal throne. All right. Well, moving along here, the next one is over a few pages, 420. 420, the next song by Francis Havergal. And I'll read you another selection here from Kenneth Osbeck's book. He notes that, and I saw a couple different versions of this story, so we'll go with this version. He notes that when Francis was in Dusseldorf, Germany, that she visited the art museum there. And there's a painting by Sternberg, I think I'm saying that right, that's a painting of Christ wearing the crown of thorns as he stands before Pilate. And the inscription underneath of the painting says, "This have I done for thee. What hast thou done for me?" And so when she viewed this painting, she was so moved that she scribbled down the lines of this hymn text, "I gave my life for thee," on a scrap of paper. And after returning to her home in England, it says that she felt that the poetry was so poor that she tossed the lines into the stove. But the scrap of paper floated out of the flames and landed on the floor where her father found it, and he encouraged her to preserve the poem, and he actually composed the first melody for it. And then the tune that we will sing was actually later composed by Philip Bliss, the noted American gospel songwriter. This song was written much earlier than a couple of the other songs that we sang. Those were written in 1874. Take My Life, let's see, was written in 1874. This song was written in 1858, so she was only about 21 or 22 when she wrote this particular song. And he wrote the first tune, her father did, and I pulled that one out as well. This one, I thought I would try to sing the first verse, and then again we'll switch back over so that we can sing with the tune that's in the book there. Interestingly enough, I pulled this from a songbook from, I think, the 1800s, and it actually says right in the songbook that you could also sing this song to another tune, which is in the same book, which is the one that we know. So already they were switching back and forth between a couple of different tunes there shortly after it was written. I gave my life for thee, my precious blood I shed, that thou hast thou given for me? What hast thou given for me? So that was the original tune that her father wrote to the song. And then again, we know much better the tune that we'll sing now, 420 in our book by Philip Bliss. I gave my life for thee, my precious blood I shed, that thou mightst ransom me and quicken from the dead. I gave my life for thee, what hast thou given for me? I gave my life for thee, what hast thou given for me? My Father's house of light, my glory-circled throne, I left for earthly night, for wandering sad and lone. I left it all for thee, as thou left aught for me. I left it all for thee, as thou left aught for me. I suffered much for thee, more than thy tongue can tell, of bitterest agony to rescue thee from hell. I've borne it all for thee, what hast thou borne for me? I've borne it all for thee, what hast thou borne for me? And I have brought to thee, down from my home above, salvation full and free, my pardon and my love. I bring rich gifts to thee, what hast thou brought to me? I bring rich gifts to thee, what hast thou brought to me? All right. Again, we're going through a few of the songs by Frances Ridley Havergal. She lived from 1836 to 1879 in England and in Wales, and was very accomplished as a poet and as a songwriter. We'll do a couple more songs. 438. 438 is the next one. This is a shorter song. Just 2 lines to each of the verses. The music was written by Robert Schumann. This tune was used for other purposes as well. You might know that name. He's a noted composer. She wrote this song in 1872 at Winterdyne, England in April. The original heading was A Worker's Prayer, and it had a reference to Romans 14:7, where it says that none of us liveth to himself and none of us dieth to himself. And it actually originally had 7 verses, so we just have 4 that made it into our particular songbook here, but it had 7 verses originally. Let me see if I had anything else on this one. I think that pretty well covers it. All right, let's try it together. 438. Lord, speak to me that I may speak in living echoes of thy tone. As thou hast taught, so let me seek thy erring children, lost and alone. Oh, teach me, Lord, that I may teach the precious things thou dost impart, and wing my words that they may reach the hidden depths of many a heart. Oh, fill to tell, thy praise to show. Oh, use me, Lord, use even me, just as thou wilt, and when and where, until thy blessed face I see, thy rest, thy joy, thy glory share. All right, that one might have been a little less familiar. 549. We sang this one this morning, which actually is what got me thinking about this particular theme. Like a River Glorious. This might be the one of her songs that you might know the best, possibly. This song was written in 1876 when she was vacationing in the south of Wales. So this would have been about 3 years before she died and went to be with the Lord. In 1876, she caught a severe cold accompanied by inflammation of the lungs. Hearing how ill she was and that she might die, she replied, "If I am really going, it is too good to be true." Her friends were amazed at how peacefully she received the information of her health. She did survive that illness, and later that year she wrote the hymn "Like a River Glorious," in which she pointed to the source of her perfect peace. Miss Havergal echoed Isaiah in "Like a River Glorious," in which God promises peace like a river. She also incorporated Isaiah 26:3, which states, "Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee." It was first published in its present form with the name Perfect Peace in Hymns of Consecration and Faith in 1876. 549. Like a river glorious is God's perfect peace, over all victorious in its bright increase. Perfect yet it floweth, fuller every day. Perfect yet it groweth, deeper all the way. Stayed upon Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised, perfect peace and rest. Hidden in the hollow of his blessed hand, never foe can follow, never traitor stand. Not a surge of worry, not a shade of care, not a blast of hurry, touch the Spirit there. Stayed upon Jehovah, hearts are fully blessed, finding as he promised, perfect peace and rest. Every It's interesting, and we've commented on this before, that we only have 6 or 7 songs from Frances Havergal in our songbook. If you pulled out enough songbooks, you would find some of her other songs. I found a couple of other ones in songbooks that I have at home. But we only know a few of her songs, and she wrote at least 50 and maybe 100, maybe more than that. But what an impact just this one song has had that she wrote and has been passed down to us, and probably has had a greater impact than she maybe would have ever anticipated that it would have. All right, one more, 667. I really couldn't find any background or story at all on this one, other than "Who is on the Lord's Side" seems to be the last song that she wrote of the ones that we have looked at tonight. One of the later songs that she wrote. It was published in 1877, so just a couple of years before she passed on. "Who is on the Lord's Side?" So we'll go ahead and sing all 4 verses together. 667. Who is on the Lord's side? Who will serve the King? Who will be his helpers, other lives to bring? Who will leave the world's side? Who will face the foe? Who is on the Lord's side? Who for him will go? By thy call of mercy, by thy grace divine, we are on the Lord's side. Savior, we are thine. Not for weight of glory, not for crown and palm, enter we the army, raise the warrior song. But for love that claimeth lives, for whom he died, he whom Jesus nameth must be on his side. By thy love constraining, by thy grace divine, we are on the Lord's side. Savior, we are thine. Jesus, thou hast bought us, not with gold or gem, but with thine own lifeblood for thy diadem. With thy blessing filling each who comes to thee, thou hast made us willing, thou hast made us free. By thy grand redemption, by thy grace divine, we are on the Lord's side. Savior, we are thine. Fierce may be the conflict, strong may be the foe, but the King's own army none can overthrow. Round his standard ranging, victory is secure, for his truth unchanging makes his triumph sure. Joyfully enlisting by thy grace divine, we are on the Lord's side. Savior, we are thine. Well, I hope hope that you enjoyed that. A couple of other songs that I found, as I mentioned, the song that I played when we started, Golden Harps Are Sounding, was one of hers. There are a couple of other songs, if you know this hymn book, Great Hymns of the Faith. I know a couple of you know this one. I Am Trusting Thee, Lord Jesus is in there, and also True-Hearted, Wholehearted is in there. And if you enjoy these kinds of things, it's actually pretty quick to look into some of these songs. If you just put Frances Ridley Havergal's name in your search bar, in the first 4 or 5 results, you'll get a fairly extensive bio from Wikipedia, which links to a lot of sources. And then there are also a couple of other hymn sites that will pop up that will list all of her songs and have their own bio. And then each of those songs, they'll have some background for it if they have it. That's where I also found an image of her tombstone. There's a lot that you can find, not only about her, but other hymn writers, if that's something that you enjoy learning about. So it's easier now than it ever was before to dig into this history and learn about these people who passed these songs to us.